Hey everyone, just wanted to give you a quick heads up. The second Global Product Owner Summit is coming soon. You can get all the details at bit.ly/Product Owner 2024. That's bit.ly/Product Owner 2024. And it's all lowercase, all one word. Oh, and stick with us until the end of the episode to know the dates and the tracks that we have for you in this year's summit. But for now, let's dive into today's episode. Hello, everybody. Welcome to one more week of the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast. And this week, joining us from the UK is Lynn Runnels-Moss. Hey, Lynn, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Vasco. It's lovely to be here.
So Lynn is a certified Agile coach and business coach, skilled in developing high-performance teams using Agile and Lean practices. She founded the London Comms Dojo, co-organises the London Code Dojo, and is a speaker in the Agile Leadership Community worldwide. So Lynn, that was a short intro. Tell us a little bit more about yourself and how did you end up becoming a Scrum Master?
It's a very funny story, actually. I'm by training, I'm a geologist. I have a degree in geosciences in the kind of micro niche of paleoecology. And when I got out of university, that led me to a career in environmental science, and specifically at that time doing investigations and cleanup of contaminated sites. In that community, which is the kind of infrastructure community, if you show any inclination towards organization or the ability to manage, you eventually end up being a project manager. So I ended up being a project manager. And about 2010, 2011, I was talking with a friend who was a software developer, and I was moaning about project management and all of the
as
the
we often do.
Exactly. I was moaning, and he looked at me and he said, "Well, why are you doing it that way?" And I said, "What do you mean? Is there another way to do this?" And he said, "Absolutely. You could be agile." I was fascinated, and I just listened intently for the next kind of hour to this agile thing, and I was fascinated by it. So I was inspired to then go on and get my certified Scrum Master certification, which I did 2011, 2012. And I started kind of integrating some of those into my work as an environmental project manager, which had limited effect. It helped me and my individual projects to a point, but it was within a large organization, and you can't really turn the ship around as
the saying goes.
As the saying goes. So what I ended up doing is I ended up becoming a contractor and using my project management skills and my newfound agile kind of inspiration. And as you do, kind of went through an evolution, starting off as an agile project manager, and then a Scrum Master, and then a delivery manager, and then a Scrum Master again, and then an agile coach, and then a Scrum Master. And I'm kind of now, I align with what Jim Jelly says a lot. It doesn't matter what your job title is, it matters what you do while you're there. So everywhere I go, regardless of what my job title is, my current job title is Scrum Master / Agile Project Manager. So I get to do a little bit of all of it, which is great. So that's how I became a Scrum Master or Agilista. And it every once in a while I miss geology.
How do you tackle that? Like when you miss geology?
I read, and I kind of go on geology websites, and I go on the LinkedIn of my old colleagues and look at some of the stuff they're working on. Some of them are doing some really fascinating work in the southwestern US. So I kind of live vicariously through them now.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, geology is also a knowledge area. So you could even start a podcast on it.
You could. What's really interesting about specifically the contaminated land work I used to do is it's very iterative, right? So you go out on a site and you kind of guess where the contamination might be, and you test. And then depending on what you get, you do the next iteration and the next iteration until you've defined where the limits of the contamination are. So it's a very iterative thing. It's a lot like software development.
Yeah, absolutely. And most knowledge areas are a lot like software development in that sense, that we're constantly learning a bit more and slightly improving and adapting our approaches. And as we do as Scrum Masters and Agile coaches, we sometimes fail. And that's okay, because everybody does. And we are here to talk about what we can learn from it. But before going into the lessons learned, Lynn, share with us a story of a moment that you had as a Scrum Master that was, not exactly as you wanted it to be. We'll dive into the takeaways and the learnings later, but share that story with us.
Yeah, early in your career as a Scrum Master, you kind of are the person of one book, right? You're like, Scrum is the way. But as you kind of grow and evolve, you kind of discover other things. So about a year, maybe two after I became a Scrum Master, I also became a Kanban practitioner. And I started that process of figuring out, where might I use Kanban and where might I use Scrum? But there's always the people that you work with who are like, I like what you do. I'm going to go find out about it. And then they become the person of one book. So I had this one team that I was working with at a very large organization, a household name type organization. And this person had been so fascinated by Agile ways of working that they'd gone off and they bought a book to learn more. And that book was Scrumban. And all of a sudden they became convinced that Scrumban was the solution to every problem that our team had. But instead of kind of coming to me and talking to me about it, they just became quite aggressive about it. And
maybe preachy?
A little preachy, a little kind of trying to get other people on side before they asked me about it. And what I learned from that, I learned that this person didn't feel that they could come to me directly. And I really dug into, why does this person not feel they can come to me? Am I presenting myself in such a way that it's psychologically safe for them to approach me and suggest new ways of working? Now, that particular situation ended up with this person kind of losing their cool a little bit with me and just started shouting at me at the daily stand-up in front of this giant Kanban board. And I really regret that it came to that, because they didn't feel that they could come to me. So what I learned is I need to make sure that everyone in a team feels comfortable coming to me and feels psychologically safe coming to me and saying, hey, can we try something else?
So one of the things that I learned being a project manager in the past myself, so having all of that baggage with me all the time, as I usually say, I'm still a recovering project manager. Yep. So, of course, a lot of the things that we bring with come with a certain mental model. And sometimes we express that, and I certainly did, in a way that is quite assertive. And that may be one reason why people don't then feel safe to come and talk to us, because, they might even be just being careful and not wanting to contradict us because they believe something else, right?
Yeah.
What do you think in this context? What do you think were kind of the triggers that led this person you were talking about not to feel safe to come to you with the idea of Scrumban and maybe doing some changes in the process?
In retrospect, at the time, I kind of looked at it from my perspective of, what am I doing? Years later now, I look back at it and I realized that the reason they weren't psychologically safe was less to do with me personally and my behavior, and much more to do with the organization dynamics. How was this organization working? What was the context in which they were trying to act? And if this system isn't psychologically safe, most relationships within it can't be psychologically safe. And
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
it's become much more important to me to have the organization be safe.
So, of course, we can't necessarily affect the organization, right? So, what have you learned about creating that, let's call it, bubble of safety? Because we always start in a context, right? The people with whom we work every day, the people with whom we need to collaborate regularly. What have you changed in your practice to ensure that no matter where the organization might be and they have a journey, their own journey to go through, how can we as Scrum Masters and Agile coaches create that bubble of safety around us?
So I think there's kind of two practices. One is so simple, I hate to even mention it. It's so silly and so simple. A simple check-in at every meeting, whether you're coming into stand-up, coming into refinement, coming into retro, checking in with each other. It demonstrates an empathy, it creates a bond, and it gets people into the room with you, even if it's remote. That one simple practice has gone farther for me in building bonds with the teams that I work with than most anything else that I've done. But the second thing is, and this is what actually ended up happening in this organization that I told the story about earlier, they need to see that you're on their side. They need that demonstrated. Now, you won't always have the opportunity to have that demonstrated, but when the opportunity does present itself, show them that you're on their side. Defend them, even if it's the conflict is with their manager or with the client organization or whoever. Show them that you're on their side and that you are willing to kind of put yourself in the line of fire for them. And that goes a long way, because it's one thing to say you defend the team and protect the team. It's another to actually do it.
Absolutely. I really like that very simple approach. Two practices, checking in, make sure all the meetings we have are humane, right? That they are safe for humans, not automatons. And that would take us on a whole new direction if we talk about philosophy and automatons, but also to take their side, to make sure that perhaps their boundaries are respected, and bring that up and talk to them about that, and don't let necessarily others run all over the team members that we work with. And when they feel that you are on their side, then they are much more likely to trust you and to be open with you. I really like how simple the practices are, but of course, learn from experience.
Exactly.
Thank you for sharing that, Lynn.
Absolutely.
Hi there, Agile friends. Thank you for sticking around and listening to the details of the Product Owner Summit, this year's global summit dedicated to a critical Scrum role, the product owner role, of course. We'll have some amazing keynotes and 4 tracks filled with first-hand stories and experiences for product owners to learn more about that critical Scrum role. The summit will take place between April 23rd and 25th, so book your calendars. There will be loads of sessions for you to attend. One of the keynotes will be Dave West, the product owner and CEO at Scrum.org, one of the largest Scrum organizations in the world. If you want to know more, check out the details at bit.ly/product owner 2024. That's all one word, all lowercase, bit.ly/product owner 2024. We will also have 4 tracks. The 4 tracks will cover cross-functional product ownership. That's track 1. As Pixar's Ratatouille said, not every idea can be a great idea, but a great idea can come from anywhere. And this quote emphasizes the importance of a product owner being open to all ideas, regardless of the source, and also challenges us to focus on getting good ideas from everywhere and involving the whole team in the product owner role and responsibilities. The second track is Designing Products for Growth, where we explore how to craft products ready for scalable growth. merging practical strategies with innovation. The idea here is to learn to design products for growth, whether it is sales or customer acquisition. The third track is Know Your Users, user-centric approaches for agile development. In this track, we learn to master user-centric techniques in agile development, to deeply understand customer needs and transform insights into meaningful UX designs that focus on engagement and satisfaction. This is a track ideal for innovation-focused agile teams. And the fourth track, one of the most exciting tracks in my opinion, is product development with AI, ideas for product owners. Not only do we discuss about using AI in the products, but also AI for product owners to learn to make a bigger impact with the help of the AI tools that we already have. The Product Owner Summit will also present to you great opportunities to network with your peers. So get your ticket and join our Slack. You can get the ticket and join the Slack at bit.ly/Product Owner 2024. As always, we have free tickets and also the paid tickets that help to support this podcast. So check them out at bit.ly/Product Owner 2024. That's all lowercase, all one word, Product Owner 2024. I'll see you in the summit floor.